You are such a beautiful being. I wrote something I will remember that I know that you know in your heart's message. Gandhiji said this: when I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love has always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fall. Think of it, always. Truth and love will always win. My question, in this fight that not just me, so many others, who are livid that your voice is being silenced from the grander stage. How can I lovingly show up to serve you in this fight? And beyond this campaign, how can we continue to show up with our love and support? And beyond that, if there's anyone here who might know an attorney who can help me with my disability, I will be indebted. I am grateful to see these lovers of love here, and I am so grateful for you, and thank you.
Anyone who told you you don't have a powerful voice didn't know what they were talking about. Your voice is more powerful than you may realize, and while you said in the past you were a public speaker and a performer, you are still a powerful public speaker. So if you're asking how you can help me in my own mission of service and sharing this love and aloha and respect with others, it's by being who you are and by continuing on your own mission and path to help and to serve others. I live with it every day. But what can you do? Even with the adversity that stands before us, as great as those obstacles may seem, there is one thing that we can control. It's our attitude, the choices that we make in how we respond. Not only how we respond, but how we proactively combat that darkness with that light. So, for all of you who are thinking some of the same things of, what happens next, and too often after campaigns are over and elections come and go, people are brokenhearted if it didn't go their way. Or feel like all is lost and let me go crawl back into the little cozy, comfortable home or a hole that I can shut out what else is happening in the world. You are facing more adversity than most. And the fact that you were able to come here today to lift your voice and to ask, how can I do more? You are already setting the example and being an inspiration. It doesn't stop after Election Day. The kind of change that has brought all of us here today, from all different backgrounds and all walks of life, says that we together recognize there is a deeper spiritual change that we need to make in this country. One that brings us back to our core, to who we really are. That allows us to bring about a change in our laws and our policies and our leadership. To not treat each other as objects, to be used and abused and thrown away. To treat each other with respect. To treat this planet with care and all life on it. To recognize that, as Mahatma Gandhi said, Mother Earth provides enough for everyone's needs, but not enough for everyone's greed. We have a lot of work to do, and every single day, the answer to your question can be answered by saying, how can I do more? Never being complacent, never falling into that trap of saying, well, gosh, my life is too hard. The hardships are too great. I can't do it because of one excuse or another excuse or another excuse or another excuse. Take ownership. Take ownership for whatever tools and gifts that you have that may be different, yours than mine, but no less than, and maximizing those gifts and seeing them as an opportunity to reignite that light in someone else's heart, where they will then go on and do the same. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. And thank you for your heart. Thank you. Yes. Yep.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for coming to Los Angeles first and foremost. I'll try to keep it brief because I know a lot of people have questions, but I just want to say just a big shout out for calling out Kamala Harris on the debate. I moved here a few years ago, but I know her work up there isn't very legit. Thank you for voting present on the impeachment vote. The DNC is insanely corrupt. I'm so sorry for what they're doing to you. I'm so proud of you for standing, keeping the fight. Which I have some good news for you, by the way. Pete Buttigieg dropped out. Because some of us didn't vote for Clinton, some of us voted for Trump, and because he stood up to the establishment, and although I think he royally messed up and unfortunately got compromised, I think our votes matter, and I'm happy that now at least you have a chance. If it was Clinton in the office, I think we'd be screwed for another 4 years. But my question for you is simply, I don't mean to make it bad or anything like that, but I kind of want to get some more information about your position on Palestine, because there are very underrepresented people in the world that are suffering. There's people of all creeds, China as well, suffering. But for the Palestinian people, when you're president, because I think you will be.
To one of your first points, I just want to point out that, you know, what you're talking about with the DNC and the corporate media, it's not about what they're doing to me, it's really about what they're doing to all of us. And how by trying to pick and choose who they want voters to hear from and who they don't is really the greatest disservice to our democracy and to voters who deserve to be able to make the best informed decision on election day. That is the big injustice about what's happening here. The ongoing suffering and oppression of the Palestinian people is not only heartbreaking, but is something that the United States must play a central role in helping to resolve. The ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has been going on for so long. It is very complex. There are no easy answers to this. But unfortunately, many of the decisions that have been made in the last few years have made a very bad situation terrible. The most recent announcement of the so-called peace agreement was offensive, in my opinion, because even without getting into any of the details of this agreement, how do you negotiate a peace agreement between two parties when you've only spoken to one? To your own peril. That's not how it works. And it's unfortunate because we have an opportunity as the United States to be able to help provide that role of being a neutral mediator to help get these talks back on track. It would require undoing some of the decisions that this administration has made to make that conversation even possible. But doing so, this is what I would do, and being able to do so, respecting and understanding that ultimately those peace talks must lead to a place of resolving this conflict by an agreement between both parties. It cannot be something concocted externally by us or any other country and imposing it on the people of Palestine and the people of Israel, saying, here's what will solve your problems. That'll never work. There's not an easy answer to this. We cannot be a biased arbiter if our real goal is to help bring about a peaceful outcome. That's the way that I would approach being able to help provide that positive impact towards truly being able to bring peace to the Middle East.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's my third time seeing you. It's always just, I was almost tempted to go to that Bernie event today. I'm glad I did not. My question's kind of a tough one. I know you got to be kind of careful in the answer here, but you know, JFK also said those who make peaceful revolution impossible, make violent revolution inevitable. I'm all for peace, I'm for aloha, I'm for diplomacy. But when we get to a certain point, enough people are actually dying that this is a war, essentially. Not one that the people declared, but one that we're the victim of. I mean, we already have each year the number of Americans dying from the opiate crisis is equal to the entire Vietnam War every year. At some point, when do we put on those yellow vests? We can try for peace as best we can, you know, have enough numbers that they just have to listen. They won't be happy about it, but they'll listen. When do we reach that point? I feel we might have been there maybe 10 years ago, but I'm just curious where you stand on that, the yellow vest movement. enough is enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Enough is enough. There's no question about how we, the American people, have had enough of the greed-driven policies that our representatives are passing in Washington. But again, I look to the example of the army of activists that Dr. King inspired, and that even in his own movement, there were those who questioned and criticized his nonviolent, love-inspired approach to change. They were very disciplined in this. They trained in this, that even when physically abused and assaulted, they didn't strike back. They didn't respond to that violence with violence. They didn't respond to that hate with hate. They simply stood strong, refusing to back down at great physical harm and peril, and even in some cases, their lives. And they were successful in bringing about so much historic change because of the way they chose to live and lead. So as we look to the change that we need to bring about, it's that example where I find the answer of setting that impeachable example, that we are not a people driven by hate or violence, that we are a people who, standing up, inspired by love, are willing to stand for and fight for those that we love. All of us, our brothers and sisters, and our country. There are so many ways to do that. The ballot box is the most simple way to make sure that this change is heard. But that alone, it requires many more steps to follow that. Every one of us here in this room has a sphere of influence where you're no longer just speaking for one, but you can help create this movement and this army for change even amongst your own sphere of influence. This is about us, we the people, raising our voices to bring about changes to our campaign finance laws, to start firing those in Congress who are not working for us, to be able to make sure that our voices are being heard in Washington. As frustrating as it is, there are some examples that I've experienced myself, where on one day there was a bill that was coming to the House floor that seemed certain to pass, and within the span of less than 24 hours, there was an organic movement of people who started speaking up and saying, this is a bad bill because on Twitter, on Facebook, our phones are ringing off the hook, email boxes were being flooded, and something that went from a certain passage with bipartisan support fell with almost a complete 400 votes of opposition because of that action that took place in that 24-hour time period. It's not easy, but exercising all the tools of our democracy is what we need to do to bring about this change.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have time for one more question.
Get a microphone up here, please.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So I feel that the Democratic Party is having a civil war with itself, namely establishment Democrats versus progressive Democrats. This entire primary, I've been split between voting for Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, and you. I ended up going all in with Yang, only for him to drop out. When you promised on Twitter to carry the torch of UBI, it became clear that there was a home for us, Yang Gang, in the Gabbard camp. So my question is, with Yang dropping out because he saw no path to victory, what is your path to victory? Or more importantly, what What does victory mean to you?
Good question. I mean, our path to victory lies within your hands. Really. And so that's where someone earlier said, you know, I don't know what your chances are, it doesn't seem very great. That's up to you. That's up to you. In my view, we've already won. When you look at how we've been outspent by tens of millions, even hundreds of millions of dollars, we have outlasted the vast majority of the other candidates who are running for president. How is that possible? It's because of you. It's because of you. So our ability to be able to continue to bring this message to voters is because of the many people across the country who are saying, you know what? How can I do more? I'm going to skip a guy who's a supporter in Tennessee. He tweeted out yesterday or the day before, and he said, you know, my family usually goes out for dinner once a week. We're skipping our family dinner out and eating at home, so I can donate another $40 to help you get your message out. Our campaign is a campaign that is of, by, and for the people, and I look forward to being able to continue this message to voters across the country, in spite of the challenges that the media and the DNC has placed before us, because what we're experiencing here today and the incredible energy in this room is the same thing we're experiencing everywhere we go, which tells me that people are hungry for the truth. People are hungry for real leadership. People are hungry for a leader who is committed to service, putting service above self, and who's willing to fight for you. Not just talk about it, but who's willing to put that skin in the game and fight for you. This is what I'm committed to doing now and going forward. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm going to just say a couple of words to close us out here. I want to hear from one of our veterans who has come and joined us here today before I close. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your service. Wait, one sec. They'll turn over your microphone. Check.
Check.
There you go.
Thank you very much for taking the call. As a veteran, I see that one portion of the population that on a regular basis. We talk about getting your account for everyone. We talk about forgiveness of student loans. We talk about the wars we have, we don't have, we like, we don't like. I'm a veteran. We find that when we have these conversations about that in the veterans administration, they lack a lot of If we're going to talk about everything about how we can go improve society as a whole, we should start with the beginning. Any veteran who has anything other than a dishonorable discharge should get full, complete medical care. Attending medical school, nursing school, hospital care, administration, that if they serve 3 years in a VA facility or supporting VA or veterans anywhere in the world, their loans, student loans are forgiven. How do you feel about that?
Thank you for your service. Our VA is not making its mission. Our VA's mission is to care for those who've borne the battle. Care for those who have borne the battle. That means something. And yet our VA continues, even as some are getting the care that they need and are happy with, there are far far too many who are being left behind, who are fighting for decades through appeals processes and red tape to be able to get their disability claims approved or to be able to get the care that they need. Just as your generation fought for decades to get care for exposure to Agent Orange that caused so many to develop cancers and other sicknesses and illnesses, because the VA said there's no correlation between your exposure and the illness that you have. Too many lives were lost because of that failure to do exactly what you said. You served, you deserve care. We're in a place now where, unfortunately, with my generation of veterans, we are facing that very same challenge with the exposure of millions of servicemen and women, deployment after deployment after deployment to toxic burn pits, many coming back and developing rare cancers and respiratory illnesses, threatening that this will be the Agent Orange of our generation. We are fighting these same battles now, working with members, Republicans, Congressman Brian Mast is a fellow veteran, working to actually fix these problems. Number one, the VA must treat every veteran who walks through those doors with the honor and 5-star service that you deserve. And no veteran will be left behind. And number two, and there's legislation that we're working on now to make sure that we are attracting the best doctors and the best nurses by creating a sort of civilian GI Bill to make sure that whether it's tuition forgiveness or tuition assistance, that we are bringing those who choose that path of service the ability to be able to do so. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Thank you for your service. Have a seat real quick. Have a seat real quick. I will always carry on. I will never quit. That's not who I am. Nor should you. I'm so heartwarmed and grateful that all of you took the time to come out here and to share your aloha with me, with our team, with my family. Time is the most precious thing that any one of us has to give. And the fact that you chose to give some of your time here today means so much to me. Because I know that the time that you've shared here today won't stop here. The choice is ours about what we want to see our country become. Don't let anyone else tell you that you don't matter, that your voice won't be heard. That will only be true if you allow them to be right. Don't let any pundit or talking head on television tell you who can and cannot win this election. That choice is in your hands. Even now, as we're 48 hours before California goes and makes sure that their voice is heard, don't be complacent. I'm here to ask for your support. I'm here to ask for your help. That as you walk out these doors, you start thinking about who you can call, who you can visit, who you can talk to make sure that our voices are heard in Washington loud and clear. And that you make it a little difficult for those on any of the cable network shows to continue the kind of nonsense and divisiveness that they have perpetuated for too long. Our future belongs to us. Let's do something about it. Thank